Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever or wherever you're watching this. I am your host, The Gentleman, and today we're going to be diving into a Reddit thread, r/RPG horror stories. I hope you're all having a lovely day today, and if not, I hope that this video helps you get through the day. Without further ado, get relaxed and comfy, grab a snack and some drink, and let's dive into this Reddit thread. Disclaimer. The video you're watching will contain mature themes within it. I do not condone any of the actions that will be discussed in this video. Potential triggers include, but are not limited to, sexual assault and abuse. If any of these potential triggers have triggered you, please do not hesitate to click off this video, and have a lovely day regardless. You have been warned. Alrighty, with all those disclaimers out of the way, let's read this post by you/misanthropologist. Ex-partner attempts to demolish my game, cycles through 7 campaigns within 7 months, and verbally abuses everybody around them. This is a wild ride of silliness, so I'll start from the beginning. Back in October of 2022, I wanted to find a game to join. After searching through servers for game applications, I had no luck. I had posted an introduction in one and signed off, waking up to an invitation to a game and accepting. Everything seemed mostly fine about the GM. If nothing else, he overshared a bit and had weird habits. He texted me about random TMI stuff in his life, stuff I really didn't need to know and had no interest in. Within the game lineup, we had a paladin, a cleric, a rogue, a bard, and me as the druid. We had decent fun in the first few sessions. He seemed a bit condescending off the bat and had a habit of railroading, referring to himself as a god and visibly wanting to put others below him for a power trip. Whew, that is a red flag and a half if I had to think of one. He openly referred to himself as an egomaniac, so it wasn't too surprising. We'll call this game Campaign 2. During this time, I began running my own campaign, which has now lasted for over a whole year, and I'm so proud of it. It had a bit of a rocky beginning with players who were a bit hard to work with. I felt ashamed that this of all things would knock my pride down, so I went to my new GM about it and asked for advice. He used this to prey on me, to use my vulnerability to give harmful advice, and insist the better solution was to kick them out without a word and give him permission over my server. He mentioned how good of a manipulator he was as if it were a brag, and psychoanalyzed me continuously without my consent, which creeped me out, but I chalked it up to being quirky. My continuous mistake. Yeah, never let people do things like that to you, especially consistently. That's like even worse. Eventually, he joined my campaign. Throughout his time there, he was abrasive and cruel, trying to bypass rules, get free magic items, and metagame info out of me. He bullied multiple people out of my table and became my verbally abusive, manipulative boyfriend within this time. Oof. Ooh, that's really bad. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That sounds terrible. I was afraid to stop him since he would threaten, manipulate, and guilt trip me whenever I would address it, and I had just gotten out of a highly abusive relationship before him. Oh my god, that just makes it even worse. Oh, this is going to be a hard read, I can already tell. He also accused the player of trying to steal me and doing vile things on other platforms, which turned out to be a lie, in which the player was removed for a small period of time before my group learned about the lies and invited him back. GM ran a one-shot within my server to give me a break and then berated me for not taking loot in an arcane lab. I stated I didn't think it was fair. I'm not going to use any magic items since I am the GM for my campaign, and the one-shot would carry back over to my own world. I wanted my players to get cool stuff since they would be the ones actively using it. He would not listen to anything that wasn't purely his story. He claimed I put terminal illnesses in the campaign despite his asking not to, which couldn't be further from the truth. It was a plague he knew about when he joined, which was in no way terminal, but he ignored that to prove a fake point. Within the abyssal dungeon crawl I had given them at one point, they had their first boss battle. This combat was their first introduction to hard combat for the 3 children within our party that I was teaching. He knew this and simply tried to use them as meat shields. Oh my god, this is just getting so much worse. Poor table etiquette, poor etiquette just in general outside the game. This is going to be hard to read. I really do think that. He made no serious effort to teach or help them, which is why it lasted 3 sessions in the first place. One of our players at the time had a worse for wear absence due to schooling, so we were mostly down during the fight since they were our cleric, in which I adjusted as such. Ironically enough, everyone was having fun during the dungeon crawl, including him, and I was never told any different. They got a lot of cool loot and items and were happy with it. At a certain point, they were attempting to travel through a tight hallway, 30 feet long and 2 feet wide, covered in thorns and spikes. This man decides to climb into a bag of holding and attach it to a broom of flying in order to make it through the corridor. The bag of holding is not a tiny pouch at your side. It's a 2-foot by 4-foot sack. I made them make a dex check to see if they could successfully make it that well without getting caught, and he failed. This is a direct quote from the official bag of holding block. If the bag is overloaded, pierced, or torn, it ruptures and is destroyed, and its contents are scattered in the astral plane. Oh no. I know what this bag is capable of. I've done many things with the bag of holding, and none of them were good. But needless to say. So where do you think he went? The astral plane. I have an NPC stationed as its gatekeeper, an old demigod fallen from power. They stated that if a demigod or god were to break their fate and order, they lose their power. This, for some reason, is the point he always likes to bring up as if it applied to him. He was not a god. The scythe they gave him allowed him to use plane shift. He stated that he didn't want to use it in order to not derail the story, which I told him didn't matter. It was not attuned to the material plane, and therefore he could not use it to go back. I allowed my gatekeepers to shift him out, and it's not like I kept him there for eternity. It was attuned to the astral plane. He had a kind interaction with said NPC and then bashed the party for not being overjoyed about his return. He was awful to them, so it was no surprise. Campaign 2 is the first campaign of his I joined. It was enjoyable until he told me about disliking our rogue and bard, who were partners out of the game. I was in a superhero campaign Rogue ran, which our GM joined and purposely fucked over. Wow, he did that purposely. Wow, man, this guy is just so detestable. I hope karma comes back and bites him in the ass at some point during this story, but either way. He insisted Rogue despised me and had been talking cruelly about me behind my back. He eventually removed both of them from Campaign 2 for simply being busy one day, and it was only me and Paladin left. Cleric left due to a language barrier. I and Paladin became extremely close and had a lot of fun together when it was just us. But we eventually gained a warlock in the form of a mutual friend I met through Rogue's game. They were berated the entire time they were there and eventually left the server altogether due to GM harassing them over being upset that their mother forgot their birthday in a, well, I had it worse type manner. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh my god, this is so bad. This caused a lot of people to leave. He had an angry breakdown and took out a lot of emotions on me. Oh Jesus, this is getting hard to read. We later got a monk. The monk had to leave due to scheduling and GM berated him for it. Oh, of course he did. Of course he berated him for it. Why wouldn't he berate him for it? God, it's like clockwork at this point. Causing the campaign to take a break there, but was said to be revived soon. He also ran a campaign before this one that ended up shutting down because nobody was interested in, and he would berate his players for not doing well enough, or not exactly what he wanted. Campaign 1. A bit after Campaign 2, he started up another campaign, Campaign 3, which quickly ended due to his behavior. You know, 3 campaigns in a row, and you would think the self-awareness would finally be there, but I guess not. Maybe people like him don't have self-awareness. I don't know. Whatever. He had an addiction to running campaigns, and he needed his fix. So that caused the surge of Campaign 4. This campaign was based on Strixhaven and was relatively fun, but eventually ended due to nobody being interested anymore because of GM's dodgy writing. Oh my god! It's something different for once. Oh wow. It's something actually different. It wasn't just him berating the players like it normally was. That's crazy. He prioritized improv over anything else, and it led to a lot of plot points being retconned and terrible inconsistencies. He always needed a power trip. God, I can't with people, like, I really can't. All of his NPCs were cruel and mean to the party, and we were expected to follow GM's plan to a T. Paladin was in this campaign with me, along with their sibling and their sibling's partner. Their sibling and sibling's partner didn't enjoy it too much and were kind to him about it, but GM practically bullied them over it before they left, of course. And just when I thought it was something different, it's right back to the clockwork. Afterward, he made Campaign 5. This was a bit more necromantic campaign based on the failed Campaign 1. This happened on the same server but ended midway through Campaign 2 due to him having issues with the players. He always had issues with the players. I kind of like how they wrote this. They wrote it in such a cynical way, and I kind of enjoy it, actually. It's really funny to me. He was extremely rude and controlling, belittling them for not doing exactly how he pleased, which caused him to go through 10 plus players in the span of 2 sessions. My god, you went through 10 players in 2 sessions? That is horrible. Do you know how bad of a GM you have to be to go through 10 players in 2 sessions? Holy hell, okay. For example, we had an encounter with a black great worm. We came across her suddenly and had to bow to her in respect. My character was an extremely naive tiefling bard who is extremely excitable over things they know a lot about. They spoke to a great worm in a more casual, friendly manner. Our druid/barbarian, GM's cousin, had respectfully bowed, and our small little Kenku wizard had provoked her jokingly, which all 3 of us players found amusing. This player never lived it down, and GM went out of his way to shame her, purposely TPKing the party to kill her next session because she didn't have the reaction he wanted her to have. Oh my god, this is really bad. This is really, really bad. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Me and the druid/barb expressed it wasn't fair and were downright unfun, but he didn't care. Sometime during this, he revised Campaign 2. Oh great, he revised Campaign 2. Oh no. Now he can kick more players out of the sessions. Yay! This was actually exciting for a bit, but Paladin didn't come back after taking a mental health break. They despised GM and knew about all he had been putting me through in the course of our relationship. You're still with him? Jesus. But simply wanted to be there to support me and make sure I was okay. We gained new people in the form of 3 players: Fighter, Sorcerer, and Barbarian. I'm still great friends with Fighter and Sorcerer to this day. Off the bat, GM didn't like Fighter because of his admittedly charismatic nature. He was kind and we clicked almost immediately. He was afraid that he was going to steal you again. Oh yeah, that's totally what it was. GM would always try to find problems in his playing style, as much as shaming him for not having known in character about an organization Fighter was against, despite not even telling him its name. Oh god, okay. You know what this is? I think this is a person who wants to run a good game, but is thinking so maliciously that he can't even run the game properly because he's too busy thinking about the actual people rather than the game itself. And I think that's what this is. It's tragic because, wow, this is terrible. He did this with the sorcerer as well and talked badly about Barbarian behind his back, one of his closet friends. He started another campaign this time. Campaign 6. Oh my god. I can't with these campaigns, oh my lord. There isn't much to say about it besides it ended because he went through another 10 plus players within 2 sessions because of his abuse. God. Oh my god, this is so bad. You went through 20 plus players in 4 sessions. Jesus Christ. I have no words. I have none. Within this, he gave me a sword that converted spell slots into melee, max 5d8, and got angry when I said it wasn't how I'd prefer to play my sorcerer. And as a result, I gave it to another player who would get some use out of it. Eventually, within campaign 2, fighter left without a word, blocking me and GM. Oh, that sucks. And I was heartbroken. Oh, that's even worse. Oh, I feel bad for you. I'm so sorry. I messaged Sorcerer to put me in contact with Fighter again, but he was someone I grew to truly love, and Sorcerer did. When we talked, he expressed not being angry with me and simply worrying I would side with GM. He left due to issues GM had with another player in the form of another campaign he started during the revised Campaign 2, Campaign 7. Oh my god. Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay. Alright. Yep, this is starting to get really hard to read, but okay. It's not because of the formatting. I just want to clarify that. It's becoming hard to read because of the amount of... just the pure amount of shit that you've gone through. Like, oh my god, this is bad. Alrighty. In Campaign 7, we had a player who was a bit more eccentric. He was neurodivergent and had issues communicating, but clicked pretty well with me due to me also falling under those kinds of issues. GM as well despised him and yelled at him for little things such as talking about his character, even if he had never had an issue with that in the past. Because he has to have problems in his life, otherwise he has no reason to be angry. And we can't have that, we just have to be angry 24/7. I used to be that kind of person. I used to be mad at basically everything for little to no reason. I've come a long way from doing that. Not in tabletop, just in general life. I used to be that kind of person. I'm not as bad now. Still working on it, but I'm not as bad now, so of course. This person, unfortunately, turned out to not be so good himself, but that's a story for a different day. Oh, Jesus, no. Please don't. Please don't put that story here. God, it's already bad enough already. GM did have a rule channel in his server, however, which was very authoritarian and cruel. GM eventually kicked this player out and began to talk badly about him in another server he was in, harassing him through separate accounts. Jesus, man. You have no life to the point where you harass these people on multiple accounts. Jesus, you have no like, you are a whole loser. Like, dead ass, you are a whole loser. I could not be me, but either way, nearly everybody witnessed this, causing Fighter to disapprove and leave, amongst many other reasons. Yeah, I can only guess why. It's so bad. I had invited him into my campaign and informed GM because at times I was the one who had to control him. I was expected to reel him back like a feral dog, and I had to talk him out of scary rampages on innocent players. Yeah, you need to get out of there. I felt it was my fault when he would attack them because I didn't hold the leash hard enough, and eventually, keeping his campaigns running fell on my shoulders. He made me play middleman a lot, a morbid good cop, bad cop in which I frantically begged for forgiveness from his side. No, don't beg for forgiveness on his side. He's a bad man, very, very bad man. Our breakup was when most of the stuff went down. I spent months being harassed and stalked through separate accounts, told I deserved all of the trauma that happened to me, including being continually essayed that my work was awful and I was awful. Jesus. Not only that, but he had posted notes from my campaign trying to spin it as if I was an awful GM and methodically leaving out the fact he caused people to leave, manipulating me that it was for the best and they all hated me. Jesus Christ, this is hard to read. My notes mention NPCs a lot, but that is simply because it was requested of me to write down everyone they've ever met. Maybe half of them are important to remember, most likely less. He took encounters out of context and got angry that he couldn't be the main character. Of course he did. He's a narcissist. Why would he settle for anything but being the main character? Because he's a narcissist. Of course. And this is like actual narcissist. This isn't me like throwing the word loosely. This is like actually having to be in constant control, manipulating people, trying to... Oh yeah, no. This is like textbook definition pretty much. Not a therapist. So YouTube, don't flag my video, please. Basically, any lore that didn't revolve around him was dumbed down, and all my words were strung to seem as if I was being antagonistic. Jesus, I can't. I am a writer at heart, and nothing makes me happier than giving my players a fun and interesting experience with their backstories. I had people rallying with me, saying they suspected I was being hurt, and that it seemed unhealthy and unnatural the way he treated me and others. It feels fulfilling to know how long my campaign has gone, how interested everyone is, and how happy people are at my table, and how happy I am running it. A lot of people from this story are either in it or spectators in it. It just makes sense. He went through 7 campaigns within 7 months of knowing him, and it makes sense why he was desperate to tear mine down. He talked routinely about not caring about his players as people. I considered mine as friends and family. Look, it's night and day. It's legitimately night and day, and that's so sad. That's so sad that some people are just like this because their life sucks. My God, I'm so sorry you went through all that. I'm slowly getting over being a doormat and am much better at not accepting abusing behavior. I'm doing very well for myself, and if nothing else, I'm happy it's caused me to meet my current group of 10 wonderful human beings, 2 featuring as guests now and then. Luckily, it has not ruined my love for D&D, as I now get to share my heart and work with the people I love, and that happens to be good enough for me. Everybody hurt was heard from me and understood, even if I was told not to apologize to him. I still wanted that closure, and I'm glad I got it. I stand up for myself a lot more now, and I couldn't be more grateful for the amount of love and support I'm getting from those around me. Oh, thank God. Thank God this story ended on a good note. I'm so glad this ended on a good note. Holy shit, that was rough. TLDR. Abusive and toxic GM and player causes me to meet the best group I could ask for after 7 months of torture. Ooh, that was a really rough one to read. We're gonna need a couple images of puppies here and there, because Lord, that was a rough read to go through. Yes, look at all these puppies. These puppies are sweet. I think we needed that for today. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that about wraps up our video for today. If you enjoyed listening to the madness of r/RPG horror stories, then please leave a like. And if you made it this far in the video, leave the comment, better games. Until next time.